camera wasn't working very well. Hi, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the second night of the second week and the second forum of this night. So I guess 3 twos on that one, of the St. Lucie County League of Women Voters candidate forums for the 2020 general election. I'm Andy Poley. I am the president of your local League of Women Voters. I have a few quick little announcements before we get started. Early voting starts on October 19th. There are 5 early voting locations throughout the county for all of St. Lucie County voters. They're the same 5 locations that you had for the primary election. Mail-in ballots went out last Friday. If you had already requested one, you probably already received it. You can drop those off at the secure ballot boxes, drop-off boxes throughout the county. Check the Supervisor of Elections website to find out where those are. Let's see. Oh, and you can still request your mail-in ballots through October 24th. But if you wait that long, you're going to run the risk of not getting it and not getting it back in time. So we suggest that you request right away if you're going to do that. Let's see, November 3rd is Election Day, and if you choose to vote on Election Day, you need to vote at your voting precinct. So tonight, we're going to have our second forum. This time, since it's school board night, this time we're going to hear from candidates from District 2. The questions that you're going to hear from, posed to the candidates this evening are different than the ones that we presented during the primary candidate forums, and they're also different than the ones you'll find on vote411.org. So if you go to vote411.org, you'll learn a lot about these candidates and all the other candidates on your ballot and the 6 amendments that are on your ballot. So the forum for tonight, or the format for tonight's forum, is the same as it has been for all the other forums. 90-second introductions from each candidate, followed by a series of questions, 2 minutes to answer for each candidate. Then, if you pose your questions during a Facebook Live event and we have time, we'll post them on your behalf. After that, then each candidate gets a 2-minute closing statement. We determined the rotation of the candidates by coin toss earlier. I just want to remind everybody, this is a forum, this is not a debate, so the candidates will make their statements, answer their questions, and we'll move on to the next statement or question or candidate. This isn't, we don't invoke each other during the forums. So our moderator this evening, as always, is Carol Wyatt. Carol is the owner and operator of radio stations WPSL in Port St. Lucie, WSTU in Stewart, and WJNX in Fort Pierce. She is the president of the WPSL Christmas Kids of St. Lucie County. She is past president of the Rotary Club of Port St. Lucie. She is a member of the Port St. Lucie Businesswomen. She has many years in journalism, including as a reporter in Los Angeles prior to moving to Florida in 1993. We are, as always, honored to have her as our moderator. And so now I'm going to kick it over to Carol and beat up my kid.
Careful there.
No, I was just kidding, everybody.
Thank you, Andy. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County Candidate Forums. We thank the members of the League for developing all the questions. We thank the candidates for participating, and also we thank you for watching and listening and informing yourselves about the general election in what has been and continues to be a challenging year. So this evening, St. Lucie County School Board District 2, it is a county-wide race. It is for a term of 4 years, and it's for a seat on the board that sets policy for St. Lucie County Public Schools. The current officer for this district is not running for re-election. So our candidates are Jack Kelly and James Mons. And as determined by the coin toss, Jack Kelly will do the first opening statement. Mr. Kelly?
Good evening, everyone. And thank the League of Women Voters for having us back again. I hope, I don't think we're going to be as entertaining as last night, though, with the presidential of today. James, we're not getting into that. I entered this race just 3 days before qualifying, before you could get in. It was very late because I took a lot of time before I decided to run for this office. I've met with everyone, all the school board members at length, with Mr. Gent for quite a few hours, with the CFO, financial person for the school board. I've gone over the entire budget, the $647 million budget, $520 million operating fund, which is totally different one or the other, and I understand the budget. I've been your vice mayor in Port St. Lucie and city councilman for 12 years, which also means I was on the TPO, the Transportation Planning Organization for St. Lucie County. I was on the fire district, which was a great board for 12 years also. I've had experience in just about everything. If you go on my website, jackkelly.com, you can see all the organizations that I've been with over the years, and I have got tremendous experience, and I know St. Lucie County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Opening statement, Mr. Mons.
Well, good evening, St. Lucie County voters. Good to see you guys again. I am James Mons. I am your local candidate running for school board. The reason why I'm running for school board is because I have dedicated my life to the development of our youngest minds, which is our children. I started as a student here in St. Lucie County School District, graduated, went on to college, and came back to start my educational career as a teacher. I went from a teacher and moved up in the ranks as a coordinator, from a coordinator to an instructional coach, from an instructional coach to a dean of students, and on to an assistant principal, in which I've been immersed in that particular position for the last 6.5 years. I also am a county advocate for students who are at risk, in which we started our own nonprofit organization that deals with students coming from different walks of life and trying to help them find their way, their path to citizenship. So why would you vote for me is because I'm the guy that's in the community. I'm the person that the students are going to look up to, and I'm also the person that understands the grind of our teachers. I'm a St. Lucie County resident. I've been involved in the curriculum development for the last 14 years, and that's what I can bring to the board, is that experience from the community, that experience in the classroom, and that advocacy for the students to be educated equally all throughout our county. I'm a product of St. Lucie County, a proud product, and I am an example of what the school board can produce here in our community.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mons. The first question will start with Jack Kelly, and after that we'll rotate them. So it has been a little over a month since the primary elections. While campaigning and talking to voters during that time, have you learned of new concerns, or have their concerns changed in any way? Mr. Kelly.
Actually, the concerns are the same. They've been amplified. And of course, one of the biggest concerns, never mind the biggest concern is safety of our children, the safety of the staff. Safety is number one with everything, in every way, not just the health. But the biggest concerns that I hear is that we will run out of money. We have a program for essential workers, parents that are essential workers. They can't stay home with their children for virtual. That's sponsored by the Boys and Girls Club. We have 8 different facilities. We have over 200 kids in that right now. That money is only going to be there till the end of this semester, till Christmas time. We're very concerned, and everyone's concerned about running out of money. There's also concerns about the amount of children this year is down from what it was out of enrollment. One school that I spoke with today, they let go 2 or 3 teachers. They didn't let them go. They could be reassigned or they could volunteer. And that's a problem. We're losing teachers. And that was in the 7th or 8th grade area where we need them really, really badly. But there are a lot of concerns. Everybody seems to be walking on glass and real careful and trying to juggle those balls up in the air, because no one knows. We don't know where this is going, if we're going to have a second wave. You look at England right now and over in Europe, they might shut down again. So we don't know where it's going. Everything's day by day. And those are the concerns, the same concerns that we had 4 months ago, 2 months ago, only they're amplified. And funding is a big part of it.
Okay, same question to Mr. Mons. New concerns, or have people's concerns changed in any way since the primary?
I think that what I'm hearing from a lot of parents, because it's twofold. So you have one side where the parents are really, really adamant about making sure that the students are educated, receive a quality education. And it's really, really tough to provide that when you're not in front of that student. I myself am dealing with that with my 4 kids who are at home. And then we also have problems with internet connections and computers and things like that, which I think the school board has done a great job with trying to get those computers deployed out to those students who need that particular device. Another one of the biggest complaints is that sometimes it's hard to navigate that piece of technology. Sometimes the students are in households who their first language is not English. So it's really, really hard for them to really understand how to take hold of their students' education. From the teachers, what I'm hearing is that it's really hard to really, really showcase your expertise when you're trying to do things online. And this is something that's very, very new to everyone all over the country in dealing with education. So I think that the biggest thing is that we all want our kids to be educated. That's not the problem. It is how do we do that in a safe manner, but also in a manner that's very, very, that's equivalent to what they were receiving in the brick and mortar school. Now we do have it to where you have, what we call a mesh platform where they can actually be at home and actually be at school. But some teachers don't agree with that because the teachers are afraid of coming to school and teaching in a brick and mortar school and then going home to their significant other who may be sick or who may have a existing condition and bringing that piece of it home. So I think that the school board is trying to do the best that they can do. I think that I'm a guy that can also come in and give them, some concrete information about what's happening on the ground level because I'm doing that every day. I'm in the community talking to people, and I'm also dealing with the students in the community and asking them how do they feel about it. So those are some of the concerns that I've heard and that I'm dealing with and that I'm talking individuals through as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question will begin with Mr. Mons. St. Lucie County is large, it's densely populated and diverse. In your opinion, are there specific communities whose needs are not being adequately met, and how will you address that?
Well, the biggest thing, I think that in any community that has 60% plus free reduced lunch, and for those parents who are listening, what that means is that those students fall up under or at the poverty line. So when you're dealing with a community that's impoverished, of course, you're going to have certain subgroups that are not receiving and the adequate piece of it. But I think the school board is trying to identify those pieces. But how long can we wait, right? I'm a product of that community, the community that is disenfranchised when it comes to education. And I understand what it means to come from that community, but also to be immersed in education and use that education to limelight your life. I think that we have to look at the pieces with dealing with discipline. I have the numbers here where, that the African-American community or the minority community is about 30% of our population, but they account for 50% of the discipline incurrences, such as in-school suspension as well as out-of-school suspension. According to the data from FLDOE, we had 10 expulsions in 2018-2019 school year, and out of those 10 expulsions, 6 of those were African-American males, and 2 of those were actually Latino males. So that tells you that we have more work to be done. And how do we get there? By making sure that the students can see themselves in the individual at the top. And I'm that guy. I'm that guy that went to the alternative school as a young man. And I'm that guy that actually graduated and came back to my community to show these kids that no matter where you start from, no matter where your origins are, that's not indicative of how you're going to be, within 10 to 15 years. Because I never thought that I would be the person that I am today, but I had a great village around me. And that's the thing that St. Lucie County provides to those students, to those individuals. But we have to identify those individuals where they are, and we have to meet them where they are. We have to have conversations with them, real conversations, and provide opportunities for them to be successful and showcase their talent and see success in themselves. And that's what I'm here to do, and that's what I'm here to provide, and that's what I can bring to the board.
Okay, same question to Jack Kelly. Specific communities whose needs are not adequately met, how will you address it?
Well, first of all policies that I would vote on would have equitable decisions for all children, no matter what zone, what zip code they live in. Everything would have to be equitable for everyone. We have quite a diverse system. As far as concerns, there are concerns. I hear from teachers that I speak to every day. My wife's a teacher. She's back teaching, substituting now, 20 years full-time. And my daughter's a teacher, full-time teacher. And I have 11 teachers in my immediate family. So I'm pretty hooked into what's going on. Never mind friends that work at high schools and all over the county. Biggest concerns that I hear from them are people who don't have a lot of money. And it can be anyone. Kids are being taught virtually and they have computers. But I don't know, I hope that Mr. Jent and people are hearing this. The kids that are being taught in a brick and mortar right now don't have computers. Most of them don't have computers. They're actually using their phones to work with the teachers because the teachers don't want to do paper back and forth. They want to grade them, on their computers, which is the right way to do it, to keep everyone safe, keep everyone apart. The computers are at least a month or 6 weeks behind for these children in the schools. I don't know how bad it is or how bad it goes, but the 3 schools that I spoke with today don't have their computers. They don't have them all. Kids are using their own. Children that have the means have bought their own computers. So that is a concern for those people that can't afford them. The other concern, again, is essential workers who have to go to work every day, teachers are in that, and nurses, doctors that have to leave their kids at home to are in that after-school program. That money may be gone, so that's a big concern for them also. It goes right down to the poverty level, which is about 75% in St. Lucie County in our school system. They are huge concerns.
Okay, next question starts with Jack Kelly. The state has allowed teachers to be armed in the classroom. It has been proven by the FBI and the military that firearm proficiency is lost without frequent training and practice. So what is your position about arming teachers in classrooms, and what policies would you implement to ensure continued proficiency for the teachers that are armed?
Well, first of all, I don't think any teacher should be armed unless they're law enforcement or they've been through that kind of training, military or whatever. I know a lot of people are advocate for it, but I think the only thing we can do there is more resource officers. Again, funding, more money. Resource officers, what we can get from the sheriffs and the local police departments for that safety. That's another safety concern above and beyond the health concern. But now, whatever the policy is, that's what we have to follow. And I'm not for arming teachers in schools.
Okay, for Mr. Mon, same question. What's your position about arming teachers, and what policies would you implement to ensure proficiency for teachers who are armed?
I'm sorry, excuse me, but I'm
Well, I'll be back in a moment.
You don't have any music you can play, or?
Well, okay.
It's always fun when someone's in the background.
I'm sorry, the life of Zoom right at home. But piggybacking on that question, I'm definitely not for arming teachers. I feel like teachers went to school to teach. They love kids enough to make sure that the kids are being successful. And the only people that should have guns in the school are the individuals that have on a badge. I have been a part of a program that did go through the guardianship program, in which we had a security guard that was armed. I'm not for that. So I do believe that the funding is an issue. We want to make sure that every school does have a school resource officer embedded in that school, because I do believe that when the individual who's coming to harm our children sees someone with the vest on or someone with the badge on that says sheriff department, it's a deterrent for them. So, and these sheriff's officers are going and they're getting, the service that they need. They're getting the certification that they need to use that firearm. And I think that they need to be inside the schools.
Okay, next question, starting with Mr. Mons. What is your position on school vouchers and why?
Well, at the current moment, school vouchers is part of the land. I mean, that's part of the fabric here in Florida and the United States. So there's nothing that we really can do to get rid of school vouchers. I am for accountability for school vouchers to try to find a way to make sure that those tax dollars, if they say they're going to do something for our students that's innovative, that's outside of the block of what we can provide as a public school, they need to be doing that. I think that the biggest problem that we do have with the school voucher is that some people may argue that there's no accountability. But at the same time, when we're talking about a charter school is identified as a non-traditional public school, in which they do have to submit plans and information and applications that need to be thoroughly vetted from the school board, and then disseminated as to how is this going to be done. Show us that 5-point plan about how you're going to make sure that our kids are going to be educated effectively, efficiently, and equally to their peers. If that's not happening, then of course, that's something that we would have to sit down and talk about as a board. But I'm a person that can bring that type of that thorough checks and balances to the board. I've gone through charter school applications. I've gone through voucher applications. I've been able to kind of see and read and digest and divest and make sure that these things are currently happening. But of course, with voucher programs, as far as the school board is concerned, we have to have some accountability, because even though the kids are indulged in these particular schools, they're still our babies here in St. Lucie County. So when they graduate from that voucher school program, they're still being thrown into our communities and told to be a productive citizen. So we need to have some type of insight, some type of hand in making sure that happens. Now, that looks like an after-school program or something for us to show some type of accountability. I'm all for that. But if we can't hold them accountable, it's hard for me to say yes to that.
Okay, same question to Mr. Kelly. What is your position on school vouchers and why?
Well, as a previous elected official, what Mr. Mons just said is, I just about agree with everything he said. Charter schools and vocational schools are the law. That's it. I'm going to follow the law on any board, just like I did on the city council. If it's the law of the land, that's what it is. If the law can be changed and there's a dissension or a good reason to change that on a local level, then we have to talk about that. But as far as the vocational schools, charter schools, he's right. They have to fill out the proper applications, come before the school board, and then they get voted on. And if they do everything properly, they're in. That's what the law says. Vocational schools, on the other hand, and I have to be honest with you, I have to be more versed in how they're reporting, because everyone that I speak to in the school board and in the school system says that it's not equitable because they don't have to be accountable, just like our regular schools and our charter schools. The accountability is in question constantly with the vocational schools. And whether that's fair or not, I leave that up to the authorities and the people that need to get in there and do some looking. I don't know. I'm not, it's the law. They're allowed, that's it. But they need to be accountable.
Okay, next question for Jack Kelly. Just over half of St. Lucie County parents elected the online option for their children in August. What do you think the district will learn about educating in a virtual setting from this first semester of this year?
Well, as I brought up already, there's a big problem with the kids, not in the virtual problem, but it is problem with it. Most of the children, I think all the children that are being taught at home have their computers. The kids that are in school do not. They don't have their computers. They're way behind on that, using phones, or kids that can afford them have them. We've been through that. The problems that I hear and I understand, and I've been there because I'm over at the Civic Center with the Boys and Girls Club, looking at what's going on with the after-school program we have there. We have 200 kids in that program right now, and that's for the ones I explained, are for the essential workers. They can't have anyone home with their children, especially the younger ones. They can enroll in that program, and they're fed every day 3 meals, and they have someone with them all through the virtual program, just like anybody else. But there's an adult with 9 or 10 children at a time at all times during the day. That program may not get enough money by the end of the year. The problem we have with the virtual program is I understand from the teachers, is the younger kids, the ones that are in 2nd, 3rd grade, the younger ones, are not as versed and they're not as good on that computer getting online. There's problem with Wi-Fi. There are problems in the schools with people getting online and with the technical problems that we have. I'm sure after a while, everybody will learn and be versed, but that's an education in itself that people are getting that we didn't plan on. It's a new part of the curriculum that wasn't planned 6 months ago, but it's there. But that is a problem. Getting the know-how and the technology has been a problem, and it's an ongoing problem in the computers for the children that are in the brick and mortar. But in the essential worker thing, I hope we get the funding. I get that from that funding comes from different sources.
Okay, Mr. Mon, same question. Now, what do you think the district will learn about educating in a virtual setting from this first semester?
Well, I think we all have learned that it's really hard to teach education equally online when you're also trying to deal with students in the classroom. I think that we all have understood that Zoom is a great resource to make sure that we're educating our students, as well as trying to find a way for us to be more innovative as teachers. Personally, what I've learned is that there's a different subset to educating a student online. One thing that we have that's a positive about the online deal is that we found out that if a student gets sick, whether this when COVID goes away, but if a student has a situation where they become sick and they're going to be out of school for a long period of time, now we know that we can utilize a Zoom platform or a Canvas platform or a Teams platform to educate that student at home. So that does help. I mean, at the school which we're dealing with things now, if a student does get sick, the kid is on a 14-day quarantine, that kid immediately is rolled over into e-learning. So that also helps as well. But one thing that we have learned is that we need more infrastructure when it comes to our Wi-Fi internet base. Because like my colleague said previously, you know, they have buses that come into the community to provide Wi-Fi, but that doesn't always mean that the kids have access to it. That just means that there's a bus there with Wi-Fi. That doesn't always mean that the parents understand how to connect to the Wi-Fi and use that piece of it. So we need some more education. We need some more understanding about the way the internet is used, how we use it here in the school system, and also how we can use that going forward. I think we need more innovative opportunities to provide to our students. And I'm the person that can do that, because right now I am the e-learning contact for the school where I am, and I deal with administering computers, disseminating computers, repairing computers all day, every day. And I see what's happening, and I know that for a fact that this is something that's hindering us now, but in the future to be something that'll help us along our way in the future of education.
Okay, next question, coming back to Mr. Mons. We get to dream a little bit. If funding for education was not a concern, what educational areas would you improve and why?
Oh man, if funding wasn't a concern, the first thing is teachers would not have to spend their own money to decorate their classrooms. I'll make sure we take care of that for them. Outside of that, I will make sure that the teachers also have a little bit better FRS program, as well as make sure they have everything that they need to do their job the best of their ability. I will make sure that we have a school resource officer at every single school, armed and ready to go. That same resource officer comes back to that school, because we're talking about building relationships. And what that does inside of a school is most of the time, the first interaction that a kid will have is with that school resource officer. So I want to make sure the school resource officer is there every day. He gets to learn all of the kids' names. They love him the same way they love their teacher. And now when they go into the community, we have individuals that understand what the police job is, but also they want to become the police officers in our community. And the last thing is with this COVID thing, I would just make sure that they have enough money to buy those digital scanners to scan kids as they come in, to give every kid a mask if they need one, to give every teacher everything that they need if they need that too. So those are some of the things that I would do with my money. And the last thing is I would provide busing to every kid in the community, and also after school programs would also have busing and have extended opportunities to get to the kids. When it talks about making sure the kids have exposure, I want to be able to take the kids to different locations like Space Force and SpaceX and places like that if they want to indulge in that. I want to be able to take them to the ESPN Center so that they can if the kids are at Fort Pierce Westwood working on a game, and they can actually see the end result of that and build more of exposure and more of a wanting for that particular career. So those are a lot of things that I would do. And I would say the last thing is bring more businesses here so that our kids can see what a big business really is, and what it does, and how it moves, and how it helps our community become better. Those are some of the things that I would do with all the money in the world.
Okay, all right, same question to Mr. Kelly. Didn't have to think about funding. What educational areas would you improve and why?
Wow. Yeah. Used to have a mayor that used to say if it wasn't for money, we wouldn't have any problems. We'd still have problems. We'd have big problems. I'm going to dream big, because I'll tell you, when I went to school, in our high schools and in our middle schools, we had Olympic swimming pools downstairs. I want 2 resource officers in every school, a male and a female. All the tools that the teachers need. No, they should not have to spend their own money. They used to get an allotment every year. I don't think they get that much anymore. If they do, they cut it down. I know my wife was always buying stuff for school. But the big thing that I'd want, more transportation, better transportation, the computers that we need. We have, like we've been talking about, we have a new curriculum with tech and how they have to learn all of that. We have to bring people in that can teach that. The big thing now, I'd get rid of K through 8. I'd get rid of K through 8 schools, build new schools, if we had the money, of course. And that's going to take a lot of money to do. I'm not a big advocate to get a K through 8. We have to have it. That's what we have. You can only do what you have funds for. But if we had that kind of money, those are just some of the many, many things. And of course, the transportation. I'd love to see kids that are a mile or 2 from their local school get bused over there. It's really rough on some parents to try to get them into school, and they have to drive bikes, or they got to go on main roads. There's so many things that you can do. K through 8s, they'd be gone. They'd be all elementary schools and middle schools right up to high school. And safety better. We'd have more nurses. We'd have anything we needed for health and safety for those kids in the schools would be there all the time. But if it weren't for money, you'd still have problems though. Oh, and ESC, my goodness, I wouldn't forget that. We need to take care of our special needs children. We have a big deficit in taking care of our special needs children.
Okay, next question. Mr. Kelly, in your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle to providing high quality education for every student?
Just said it. It's money. It all comes down to money all the time. And I want to let everyone know that the school board is not a taxing authority. I've said this before. Many people don't understand that. It's not a taxing authority. The problem is, and the obstacle is with the state. The state runs the school system. They make the policies. They really do. They give you money, and you can move some of the money around. Not much of it at all, and not much of it. And just as we have the differences in the budget from the 520 operating fund to the 637, we are $7 million short, a shortfall, and I think it's going to be a lot more than that. Yes, there is retention money in that 130 some odd that we have in the overall budget, but that money is for rainy day. We've been very fortunate, and I'm going off question here, but we've been very fortunate. It could have been a lot worse. We didn't have a major hurricane. I'm knocking on wood as we talk. We didn't have a major hurricane, and we didn't have anything like that happen like back in 2004 and 5 when I was on the city council. Major problem, and it was a major problem for the school board and the school system too. But the obstacle right now is the state of Florida and the way they run the system. And our hands are pretty tied. And again, if it's the law, I'm going to follow it. Any way we can move things around by our policies, by our local policies to make it better, we'll do that. But the whole idea is, that I've talked a million times, is to get the whole village involved. We are so fortunate here in St. Lucie County. We have so much outside help helping our school system. And that's something that other counties and districts don't have. We have wonderful people and wonderful organizations in the county of St. Lucie. Obstacle, the state is our biggest obstacle.
Okay, same question to Mr. Mons. In your opinion, what's the biggest obstacle to providing high quality education for every student?
I would say one of the biggest obstacles that I see on an everyday basis is trying to fill critical shortage areas with teachers. Right now, the teacher profession is not something that individuals are nipping at the bit to get into. There's a couple of reasons why. One of the reasons is because of the salary that we're paid. And the other reason is because we have to take about 5 or 6 tests after we receive our undergrad degree to be able to teach in the classroom. So that's why right now, TC Plum broke the story today that we have 222 teachers that are teaching out of field currently in St. Lucie County. So it's really hard to fill those positions such as a chemistry or a biology, because that's something that we just can't find. And me being an individual that hires and fires individuals, it's really, really hard to find someone to fit in those particular gaps. Another situation that we're dealing with is just the full-on understanding and respect for our teachers and retention. So when we have a situation where teachers don't feel respected within the building that they're giving their all to, they're staying on Saturdays, they're staying 2 hours afterwards, trying to get the curriculum right, trying to make sure the students have it. They're making phone calls, they're sending emails, text messages to these parents to try to make sure that these kids are successful, and there's no celebration for them. There's no community that's saying, hey, listen, teachers want to give you guys a discount to come in and shop at our Walmart, right? So it's almost like we're a forgotten profession. So you have a lot of individuals who we teach at the high school level, and we're teaching these kids to go out and make more money than us because it's almost like a teacher doesn't want a student to be a teacher, because our profession is seen as something that's second nature, babysitting and things like that. I don't want anyone to see us like that anymore. And I want to be that fighter for education, that advocate for education, that advocate for teachers all the way around, and just let them know that you guys are appreciated, you guys are celebrated, because everyone that's on this Zoom right now was influenced by an adult or a teacher. So therefore, we love you, and you guys need to understand it, and the community needs to corral around our teachers and show them how much we love them.
Okay, next question, starting with Mr. Mons. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting loss of revenue to local and state government, it seems likely that school districts will experience funding cuts in the years to come. How will you ensure that the needs of students, faculty, staff, and parents are met with less money available?
So the biggest thing is one of the major parts of my position is to actually look at a budget, make cuts if needed, and also try to balance that particular budget. So when we're looking at what's happening now, of course, we're going to lose expenditure because of students who decide to opt out and do homeschooling, students who decide to opt out and go to online schools such as Florida Online Academy, things like that. So we're losing money that way. One thing I would never cut is I would never try to cut a situation where we have to make sure we have safe. The kids have to be safe, such as school resource officers. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to cut our arts program. So I think we have to solicit outside businesses to help us with that. And I think we're already doing those things. I think some of the communications and the collaborations that the school district has made has helped us move forward. And I think that dealing with those particular businesses, because they love our kids and they want to see our kids do better, we can tell them that, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to pay this amount of money because we need to move it or shift it this way to help the students become successful, but we would love for you to still be involved in our program. And I think that because St. Lucie County is more of a family county, the individuals are more susceptible to do that. So those are some of the things that I think that we're dealing with, and we just have to find a way to make it happen. And when you're talking about cutting things, you can't cut critical areas. You know, you cannot do that, because once you cut a critical area, you start losing things. It's hard to cut teachers when you have 222 teachers that are outside of their teaching avenue. So we have to find ways to make sure that the things that we cut don't affect our education, don't affect our students, but at the same time, give us the best bang for our buck.
Okay, same question to Mr. Kelly, meeting the needs of students, faculty, and staff with less money available.
Well, I've been through it. Going through 12 years with the city, we had great years. The first 6 or 7 years I was there, we had money. We were doing well, building 500 new houses every single month, getting all kinds of impact fees. We hired more people. I forget, I think we're just maybe back to what we had for employment. There are areas to cut. You cannot cut health, safety, and welfare. You can't do it. It can't be done. But when you have to cut, you have to cut. There's got to be places. So what would happen is we wouldn't get new buses this year. We wouldn't get new vehicles for department heads. We wouldn't get new desks in the classrooms. We wouldn't be able to repair a lot of things that have to get repaired that are just superficial. You have to go to those type of things first. It's maintenance that you go to. And then you're going to cut non-essential staff. And it hurts. It hurts to sit up there and cut that money and see people have to go collect checks. But it happens. It happened, and the council felt terrible. We had to cut people, and we had to do it in non-essential areas. You cannot cut health, safety, and welfare. I don't have to go through what that entails. Everyone knows what it entails. And going back to the teachers, yes, the teachers are the heart and soul of the whole system that we have. That's what it's about. They're the educators. They're the ones that teach everybody. There's a lot of things that surround those teachers, which we'll talk about when I get time, that influence everything that they do, and the tools and the resources that go around them. And it's quite a policy and quite a business to run to keep that whole system going. But non-essentials, that's where you cut, just like I said.
Okay, we've come to the end of our questions, so it is time to move on to closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Kelly.
Yes, as I just got through saying, the teachers are the heart and soul. They're the ones, the educators. They're what they're about. That's what we provide everything for. To be a teacher, to understand what they do every day is great. And I'm sure my opponent is a great teacher. But that's not what it's about when you're on the school board or any board like the county commission or the council. It's not about, oh, I was a fireman, I should be on the fire district or whatever. It's about understanding the whole business. A good example, today I find out we have 382 school buses, 382 of them. Those buses have to be maintained. We have to buy so many new ones every year. We have to have bus drivers to be on them. All of those things pass through. All the money that goes through that is going to go through every budget. If we buy new buses, which we're not buying this year, we have money from last year, they're going to buy a few. All of those things have to go through the board. It's policy that they set with that money. You have to understand how it's done. There's negotiations with the teachers union. You have to understand how it's done. There's the health department issues. There's the funding from every source. There's the retention funds, which you don't want to touch, because if you ever did have a disaster, or if you had a huge hurricane or two of them in a row, like we had back 15 years ago, you have to know how to deal with those things. I've been on the transportation board. I've been on the fire district. I know about all these things. I've had them happen to me. I've stood out and 3 feet of water over on the east side of town. When I had 200 houses, the water was 2 inches from the garage doors. Those are the things that you need to know about, and you have to be well-rounded, you have to be educated and know what you're voting on and understand all the policies and everything that goes in to supporting the teachers and the students. Health, safety, and welfare is still #1. It's a great district. It's doing great, high graduation rate. We're on the right path, and I want to keep it that way, and we can. Right now, COVID has changed everything, and I have the common sense and the experience to handle those things.
Okay, thank you for the closing statement. Now we move on to James Mons, the closing statement.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I want to say thank you to the Legal Women Voters for having this forum. Right now, we're living in a critical time for education. Education will never, ever be the same after this year. I can guarantee that. So when you're talking about new standards coming in, when you're talking about the ability to understand a budget, ability to understand how to get things done, not in the county sense, right? I'm talking about in the educational sense, because the county and the educational board is something totally different. And these are things that I've been doing. I've had to negotiate plans on making sure that we can get things in the school. I've had to negotiate financial responsibility, and I've had to negotiate cuts and balances for teachers. These are things that I do on a regular basis. So when you have a person who's immersed in this, and this is his life, and he researches it, and this is his ministry, and he believes in everything that he's doing, this is the person that deserves to be on this board. So parents, I'm gonna talk to you because I'm a parent of 4 students that's in this community. I'm also the nephew of a teacher who just retired from 30 years of education this year. I want you guys to understand, when you make a decision about what's happening in the school board, you're talking about your babies. We're talking about kids that are 5 years old all the way up to 18 years old. And when these kids turn 18, some of our kids are graduated and don't even know where they're going or what they can do. You have to have someone in here that can talk to those students when they're home, that can talk to the parents when they're home, but that can also go into this board meeting and make an educated decision for education. Only teachers and educators understand what we need in the classroom. Our community advocates understand what we need in the community. I'm both of those. I'm a parent, I'm an educator, and I'm a community advocate. So I've run the full gamut of making sure that we have what we need. I'm the person that needs to be on this board because I have the passion, I have the intestinal fortitude, and I have the education and background to make sound decisions for education. I want to see all of our communities do well. I want to see St. Lucie County be #1 and not number 13. I want to make sure that we understand that we are a sense of family, and we want to make sure that our babies are the best that they can be. College and career ready is what we're after. And I'm James Mons, and I deserve your vote.
Thank you both for being with us. We've heard from James Mons and Jack Kelly, and certainly thank you for participating this evening. We want to thank the League of Women Voters for coming up with the questions for this evening, and also thank you for listening, for educating yourselves about the general election. Andy?
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, candidates, for participating in our forum this evening. And thank you to the viewers that have learned a lot about these candidates today from the questions that they answered. Excuse me. I'm glad that you were all able to be with us this evening. Thank you to our members who work so diligently to understand the issues that matter to parents and citizens in this county so that they can put together some really great questions for all of the candidates. Don't forget to check out vote411.org to learn more about these candidates and all the other candidates on your ballots. And then be prepared, because we'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with yet another candidate forum. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk to some candidates for County Commissioner District 1. And then next week, we'll be back again with a whole other round of candidate forums, including some state reps and a state senator race. So please come back and join us again. We start at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and we can't wait to see you. And don't forget